My Weird School Special, book number 8. We're red, weird, and blue. What can we do? By Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 1. 100 Days of Misery. My name is AJ and I hate February. February is the shortest month of the year. It's also the worst month of the year. Why, you ask? 4 reasons. 1. It's cold, rainy, and depressing. 2. The 100th day of the school year is in February. 100 days. That's 100 days of misery, if you ask me. And we have to celebrate it, like going to school for 100 days is a good thing. 3. February is hard to spell because it has an R in the middle of it, for no reason. What's up with that? It should be spelled February, if you ask me. But do you want to know the worst thing about February? I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. 4. President's Day. Ugh. Do you know why I hate President's Day? It's a long story. You'd better sit down. If you're already sitting down, stand up. It's all because of what happened last President's Day. Or really, what happened just before last President's Day on Crazy Pet Day. My friend Neil brought in his pet ferret, Mr. Wiggles. That was the day Mr. Mackey, our reading specialist, came into our classroom dressed up like Abraham Lincoln. He told us we had to do an oral report about one of the presidents for President's Day. All the students were going to vote for president of the school. Then our librarian, Mrs. Rupee, came into the classroom dressed like George Washington. She and Mr. Mackey told us all about the presidents to help us on our reports, even the weird ones like Millard Fillmore, or Fillard Millmore, or Lard Fillmore Mill, whatever his name was. You're probably wondering what Mr. Wiggles the ferret has to do with President's Day. I'm getting to that. So anyway, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln started insulting each other. Lincoln said he was better than Washington because he's on the $5 bill and Washington is only on the $1 bill. Washington said he was better than Lincoln because the Washington Monument is way taller than the Lincoln Memorial. The two of them started fighting. After that, we voted to see which president would become president of the school. And do you know who won? I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. It wasn't George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. The winner was Neil's pet ferret. We all voted for him. Yes, Mr. Wiggles was now President Wiggles. That was cool. After that, we had to give our oral reports. Neil was Thomas Jefferson. Ryan was James Garfield. Michael was Herbert Hoover. In the middle of everything, President Wiggles escaped from his cage and disappeared. Everybody was freaking out. It turned out that President Wiggles was hiding in Abraham Lincoln's hat, which happened to be on Emily's head. That was weird. I worked really hard on my President's Day oral report. I didn't tell anybody who my president was until the last minute. I wanted it to be a surprise. So I started giving my report about Benjamin Franklin. It was really good, but everybody was looking at me weirdly. Then little Miss Smarty Pants Andrea Young said, Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president, dumbhead. What? It turned out that Andrea was right. Benjamin Franklin was never president of the United States. I just figured that if he was on the $100 bill, he had to be a president. Why else would they put him on the bill? I spent like 1,100,000 hours learning everything about Benjamin Franklin. And for what? Nothing. It was the worst day of my life. I was totally humiliated in front of the whole school. I wanted to run away to Antarctica and live with the penguins. I thought I was gonna die. So that's why I hate February. Chapter 2. Big Nose. If I was the king of the world, I would change the calendar so it would go straight from January to March. That's right, no more February. But I'm not the king, so of course February came. We were minding our own business in Mr. Cooper's class, and you'll never believe who ran into the door at that moment. Nobody. Why would somebody run into a door? That would hurt. But you'll never believe who ran into the doorway. It was our principal, Mr. Klutz. I have big news, he announced. Mr. Klutz has a big nose, I whispered to Michael, who never ties his shoes. Next week, we're going to have a contest for all the third graders, said Mr. Klutz. Ooh! Everybody oohed, because contests are cool. It's going to be elementary school against Dirk school, said Mr. Klutz. Ooh! Everybody oohed again. Dirk is another school in our town. We call it Dork School. It's for really smart kids. Elementary and Dirk are big rivals. We competed against them in the brain games last year, and we won. It was the greatest day of my life. The contest is going to be on the Wednesday, right after President's Day, Mr. Klutz told us. It's going to be called the President's Day Challenge. Doesn't that sound like fun? Yes, shouted all the girls. No, shouted all the boys. The President's Day Challenge sounded boring to me. It was sure to be one of those educational snooze fest contests where we have to learn stuff and pretend to be having fun. Learning stuff is no fun. If we have to learn stuff, why can't we learn about skateboarding or football? Why can't we have a skateboarding contest or a football game against Dirk School? That would be cool. Boo! The guys and me started booing. Wait a minute, said Mr. Klutz. The winning school will get prizes. Ooh! Everybody oohed, because winning prizes is cool. And it would be great to beat those Dirk dorks again. There will be 4 prizes, Mr. Klutz told us. The first prize is bragging rights, of course. Bragging rights? Who cares? Grown-ups always say you can win bragging rights. But then when we actually brag about something, the grown-ups tell us that bragging isn't nice and we should stop doing it. I'm not falling for that again. Boo! The second prize is a year's supply of Porky's pork sausages, said Mr. Klutz. I like Porky's pork sausages, but every time there's a contest, they give away Porky's pork sausages. I bet Mr. Klutz has a secret deal with Peter Porky, the guy who owns the Porky's pork sausage company. Boo! I think you'll like this, said Mr. Klutz. The third prize is a trip to Disneyland. Boo! Wait, what? Did he just say a trip to Disneyland? Disneyland is the coolest place in the history of the world. They've got all kinds of rides there. Some of them not only make you dizzy, they actually make you throw up. And you know a ride is a good one if it can make you throw up. Yay! Everybody was excited that we could beat those Dirk dorks and win a trip to Disneyland. What's the fourth prize? Asked Andrea, who has to know everything and win everything. Oh, the fourth prize is a secret, said Mr. Klutz. Ooh! Secrets are cool. Prizes are cool. So secret prizes are super cool. Chapter 3. Mrs. Rupee is Loopy. I didn't think much about the President's Day challenge until dismissal at 3 o'clock. The gang and me were about to head home when we saw Andrea and Emily sitting on the front steps of the school. I figured they liked school so much they didn't want to go home. "What are you doing here?" asked Ryan, who will eat anything, even stuff that isn't food. "Emily and I are going to the media center after school today," Andrea said. "That's right," said Emily, who always agrees with everything Andrea says. The media center? That's a horrible name that used to be called the library. But they changed the name because kids don't want to go to the library. You want to know why? Because it has lots of books in it. Books are boring. "Why are you going to the media center?" asked Alexia, who rides a skateboard all the time. "Mrs. Rupee said she'd help us learn about the presidents," Andrea told us. "The kids who know the most will get to be in the President's Day challenge. So we can win the trip to Disneyland," added Emily. "Wait, only a few kids get to go to Disneyland? I thought all of us would get to go. It wasn't fair." Well, I wasn't going to let Andrea win the trip to Disneyland. When she got up to go to the media center, so did I. And so did Ryan, Neil, Michael, and Alexia. It's not like we had anything better to do after school anyway. When we got to the media center, our media specialist, Mrs. Rupee, was waiting for us. But she didn't look like Mrs. Rupee. She's always dressing up like other people. One time, she was Little Bo Peep. That was weird. Mrs. Rupee is Loopy. This time, she was dressed up like some old guy with dark hair and a dark suit and tie. "Who are you today, Mrs. Rupee?" asked Andrea. "Rupee," said Mrs. Rupee in a low voice. "Never heard of her. My name is Ronald Reagan. I was the 40th president. Before I was the president, I was a movie star. In one movie, my co-star was a chimpanzee. The movie was called Bedtime for Bonzo. So if they ask us which president acted in a movie with a chimp, we'll remember Ronald Reagan," said Andrea. "See," said Mrs. Rupee. "You learned something about a president already." Ronald Rupee Reagan showed us a bunch of books about the presidents. Then he said we could use the computers to look up more stuff. Andrea and Emily rushed to the computer stations. "I love looking things up online," said Andrea. "Me too," said Emily. "Ooh, did you know that 4 of our presidents were born in February?" asked Andrea. "Washington, Lincoln, Reagan, and William Henry Harrison." Andrea thinks she is so smart because she's a member of PAC. That stands for the Principal Advisory Committee, a group of nerds who get to boss around the principal. Looking up stuff about the presidents was boring. I decided to make an airplane out of the sheet of paper Ronald Reagan gave us. I let it fly, and it almost hit Andrea in the back of her head. "Arlo!" Andrea yelled. She calls me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. If you were smart, instead of making paper airplanes, you would be looking to see who was the first president to fly in a plane. "They're never going to ask a dumb question like that," I replied. "Maybe not," Andrea said. But you never know when it might come in handy. That's why I'm going to get into Harvard someday. The more I read, the more I know. And the more I know, the smarter I am. And the smarter I am, the more likely I'll go to Harvard and get a good job and be successful in life. Ugh. Why can't a chuck full of Harvards fall on Andrea's head? You probably don't know anything about the presidents, Arlo, Andrea told me. Oh yeah? I said. It just so happens that I know lots of stuff about the presidents. I know stuff that nobody else knows. Like what? Scoffed Andrea. The first flush toilet in the White House was installed in 1853 by Millard Fillmore, I told her. I guess before that, the presidents just went in a hole in the ground. How do you know that? Everybody asked. I also know that George H.W. Bush was the only president to ever throw up on somebody, I said. How do you know that? Everybody asked. I just happen to know a lot of stuff about toilets and puking, okay? I told them. It's my jam. We stayed at the library looking up stuff for 1,100,000 hours until our parents came to pick us up. What a snooze fest. Andrea is sure to win the trip to Disneyland. Her parents hire private tutors to teach her everything. If they had tutors that would teach you how to clip your toenails, Andrea's parents would hire them so Andrea would get better at it. But I don't think clipping your toenails will get you into Harvard.